Welcome back, everyone, to coverage of the Spring Invite. We are in Grenoble, in the shadow of the Alps, for the women's final. BFD Shout against Grut, and it's Shout getting right on the board with a nice, quick, clean hold. Over the top, Gaia Pancotti with the score. Benji Reese here with you. I'm very excited about this matchup. I think going into the Grenoble Spring Invite, these were the two sides that I think we probably expected to be at the top. And so it has proven to be so far. Shout, the only undefeated side on the women's portion of the Grenoble Spring Invite. 5 victories, 0 defeats. Grut have dropped just the one game, and that one game was in the pool to BFD Shout. Both of these sides were in Pool A. And for Shout, they beat Fly High 15-5. 13-10 was the previous matchup with Grut. A 15-8 win over Fabulous. 15-6 over Woof. And finished out their semi-final with a 15-3 victory over Jet Set. We'll talk about Grut after this point. Grut's first 0 point of the game. I must say, it's a bit of an adjustment seeing Grut in green rather than their familiar burgundies, but I think I quite like it. That one's a little bit high. Over the head of Raider. Early break opportunity now. Sitting the shot across the body towards this near side. Going towards the floor. Mashelani can't catch. And now Menard. Looking for an option downfield. Loves that high release flick. But that was recognised by the BFD defence. Got a defender just flashing in there. And now the ever impressive Elena Bengi. Has Mashelani on that far sideline. Out in front of one of the most fearsome additions to this Shout roster this season, Ava Muller. This one, Bengi's going to have to bid, and it's immaculate as always from Elena Bengi. Bengi, back to Muller. Capucci. 4 sags off, and that opens up the opportunity for the break side. Baiocchi. Now Pancotti. Showing the break, shelving it, and the cut slashes through from the far side of the field. Matilda Mashelani makes it 2-0, an early break in this game for the Italians. Just staying committed to the option downfield. The cut comes through from the far side and zipped through the centre. In for the score. Mentioned, of course, that a couple of additions is the kind of what you expect we've seen from Shout over the past few seasons, where you have another look on the replays. They've got that really strong Bologna core, and they make a couple of additions from elsewhere each season just to bolster the ranks, bring that extra knowledge base and experience in. And, you know, the formidable German-Australian Ava Muller is a absolutely standout, phenomenal thrower. She'll be huge this season for the Italians. 8 assists and 2 goals this weekend so far for her. And someone who I was so impressed with out at the European Ultimate Championships in Limerick last season. Sinead Dunn of Ireland. Just, whenever I watched the Irish mixed team, she was always making plays. And she will, I'm sure, be a huge asset to BFD Shout this season. Grut back on offense, and as Shout often want to do, they really try and stifle and muddy things with zones. Just force you to grind it out, test your patience, your fortitude. That one's a little bit fluttery. It's a really good adjustment there from De Groen. Now Menard. Dishing it back off to Janssen. They swing towards the far sideline. Raiders throw. Picked off. Was looking for De Bruyne, but gobbled by Marcassini, who has the disc back in her hands now. Down the sideline. And that is 3-0. A red-hot racing start here from Shout. Margherita Giovannini with her 4th goal of the weekend for a 3-0 scoreline. And Shout look like they mean business here. The reigning European champions for the past 2 seasons, in fact. It is a very ominous start for their competitors as they look in, well, post-season form already, and it's only the first weekend of the season. Just picking that one off and already getting moving quickly. And the wily Marcassini down the sideline for the score to Giovannini. For Grut, of course, we mentioned they're in the same pool. They had that 13-10 loss to Shout earlier in the weekend. They beat Woof 12-8, 15-4 over Fly High, and ground out a 13-11 win over Fabulous before they dispatched catch up from Graz in Austria by a 15-8 scoreline in their semi-final. And we mentioned that, yes, zone is certainly one of the key tools in the arsenal. It's a weapon they pull out quite a lot here. Shout, even in kind of calm, still conditions, just to stop any flow, but especially when it's windy, as it has been here in the shadow of the Alps in Grenoble this weekend, it becomes ever more effective. Menard goes back to Janne Janssen. This time looking for the deep shot. Receiver in the area. It's tipped. And Kulan couldn't get it at the second attempt. It's going to say that there was contact, though, as she tried to reel that one in. Calls the foul. Get a second look at it. I think it's Giulia Baroni who's the defender. High over the top. Ooh, not quite sure. I couldn't see it from that angle. Janssen, more than capable of throwing it deep, and it's actually Letizia Capello. And I think there probably is some contact there. Whether that was the cause of the drop or whether she would have been able to catch it without it, or at least had a chance to catch it without it, whether it was incidental, that's up for the players to decide. And they decide that, you know what, let's agree to disagree. We'll send it back to Janne Janssen on the contested foul. It's going to check the disc back in. This time, just goes underneath. Nice little soft spot found there by Kulan. Kulan to Menard. He's got a full box of tricks, like a magician outside the end zone. Her favourite target is so often Coulart's, and so often it's the high release flick, but that time she just puts it up towards the back of the end zone, says, someone come through, make a play, and the request was answered by Flora Hay. And Grut now finally on the board. It just took like a little bit of time just to try and set up the isolation to Coulart's. And at that point, Menard didn't really have time to wait and time to waste. So just says, hey, this is your play and your day. And she comes up trumps with the reception. Grut on the board at 3-1. Mentioned, of course, this is one of 5 spring invites taking place this weekend, as we see it now from this end zone angle. Just sits that one on the wind, and in the 2:31s, Hay is able to get above Anna Chesky, which is no mean feat. So as well as open and women's action from Grenoble, this is the last game of the day here. We've also got the bronze medal match going over on our other stream field here from Grenoble. Rahel Soshnerova is on the call for catch-up against Jet Set. I'll finish the thought after this point with Ilaria Bonfante picking up. first offensive point since the first one of the game, and Gaia Pancotti, who's already had a big impact catching the first score. That one an open underneath pass, and it bounces out of her hands. It's a rarity from Pancotti, who's usually ever so reliable. Just burns to this open side and in and out of the grasp. But off the slow setup, they've got time to get into position, and they're going to force Grut to really pinball their way through the front line, the teeth of this Italian defence. Into the backfield, or a valiant attempt at the layout there. Comes up empty, and now on the end zone line, converted in the very first pass. Elena Bengi's got her hood up, maybe just to try and sneak through unnoticed, and it seems to have done the trick as Bengi restores Shout's 3-point advantage. Bonfanti, wasting no time, sees that Grut defenders aren't necessarily in position, and Anne-Marijn Bonn doesn't really have an option to try and get a bit on that one. Tricky throw to stick, but you know, often when you pick it up quickly, you can rush those a little bit, but especially in this wind, you need to stay focused, and that's what Bonfante was able to do there. Pull comes up from Müller, all the way beyond the brick mark. First pass short to Janne Jansen, and Jansen, catch made slightly behind there by De Groen. As the game plan is clear here for BFD. The Bolognese just going to slow the game down for Grut. Force as many passes as they can. And see if they can starve them of the big play on which they so often thrive. But Kilart's doing lots of damage in the backfield. Just giving and going, trying to run through, burst apart the front of the defence as the transition comes from Shout to match one-on-one. High release down the far sideline. Wonderful throw. Hey, with her second goal of the game, she's caught both of Grut's scores out there, and it's 4-2. Dealt with it a lot better this time. As soon as the transition to the match defense came, they got into their vertical set outside the end zone really nicely. Kilartz makes the break side cut, turns, sees that it's already beginning to develop downfield. It doesn't come too early and just sits the high release backhand out on the wind for Flora Hay. So as well as open and women's action here from Grenoble, open and mixed in Padova, mixed division action in Malmo, women's in London, and open in Brno as well. So all three divisions getting plenty of representation at the spring invites this weekend. And obviously you want to finish as well as you can in your particular event, but if you want to know how this affects the overall rankings as a whole, it's going to be a little bit odd with not any connectivity really at the moment. But the first rankings reveal is tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Central European Time. That's 7 p.m. BST. 2 o'clock US Eastern Time. You can adjust for your own time zone. And it'll be fascinating to see what the almighty algorithm makes of it all and how that develops as the season goes on. One of, I think, the main points of intrigue here. Not just this week, but as the season develops, all those games get fed in and every result and every single point matters. The swing to Marcassini from Dunn to begin. And Marcassini continuing, was looking for Anna Chesky, and Chesky didn't really have a chance. Grut with a break chance, looking deep off the turn, and it was acrobatic in the extreme there from Aurora Leznik. Not that we expect anything else from the Slovenian, but not able to corral it. Giovannini towards the end zone, rushed that one. Again, just overshooting. Aurora Leshnik kind of disappeared on the radar of the bursting through the Slovenian youth women's team. Such an impressive athlete and so devastating with those quick give-go moves. And it's great to see her back out there playing with Grut this season. Short field turnover though. Going to give another shot to Shout. Looking on the inside window. They have it to Dunn. Dunn continues to Marcassini. Into the underneath. Trying to just curl that one around the defender. Casarini gets it just right. And finds Sara Rabalia to make it 5-2. Susanna Casarini currently leading Shout in stats. That'll be her 13th assist of the weekend to go along with 4 goals as well. For Grut, it is Leshnik topping the scoring and assisting charts with 12 assists and 5 goals. Flor Cularts is the leading goal scorer in the division this weekend with 14 goals from their games. And that's actually with one game not quite counted in there. Nicole Lafiata of Tequila Boom Boom, so compatriot and teammate of some of these Bologna players on the national outfit. She leads the division in assists with 16 and 7 goals as well, so she's the leading combined goal scorer and assister this tournament. Just getting ready for the disc to get bought back in play from this sideline. Janssen being marked by Bichelia. Got that 3 up front for Shout. Trying to force the disc wide and see if they can trap on the sidelines. Now Dunn just creeps up in there. And this disc is floated. Is Dunn going to get a shot at it? No. Well positioned, well boxed by De Groen. Raider. Towards the far sideline to Janssen. He's actually got it a lot more central than I thought. And Cularts back to Janssen. Finds the seam well. Janssen downfield to De Groen. Kuhlen. Short to Minard. Going to try and get it off the sideline to give ourselves more room to work with. It's a good force being applied, but Minard is able to break to Janssen. Continuation cut timing isn't quite there, but they left that little seam that she could thread it through. And Lois de Groen, who I must say I've been very impressed early on in this game for Grut. She gets her first score of the day. Well, of the game anyway. Her 7th of the weekend to make it 5-3. See, just the low release, a little bit of air bounce on it just to sneak that one under the mark. And Janssen spots the opportunity. When the disc is in the centre there and all the defenders are on one side, that you can put a little bit of inside-out shape. Nothing too outrageous on it, but you've cleared that lane through. And so you're getting the disc onto the break side of the cutters downfield, but the throw doesn't really have to come at too much of an angle. Well set up and well executed there by Grut. 5-3 to BFD. Games played to 15 this weekend, or if you don't reach 15 by the 70-minute time cap, you finish the point, add 1 to the highest score, and that becomes your new score limit. As Leshnik. To Paul, gets there underneath it and it blades. It's going to land just beyond midfield and roll towards the sideline. Bengi stops it. Picked up by Bonfante. Bonfante, nice gainer downfield. Strusia. Off to Müller. Müller on the stretch towards the far sideline. Irina Scazzieri back in Europe after playing with Fury stateside last season demonstrates why she's such a nice piece to have as she catches on the sideline, but her centering pass floats and Grut get a chance to earn one of those breaks back. The underneath, I think this is going to float, and Bone isn't the tallest receiver, so it's a tough ask for her there as Shout looking to strike quickly towards the end zone. I thought the layout was there for Scazzieri, but of course she will know her capabilities much better than I would, and maybe just always too far. Couldn't quite get her feet ready and set in position for it. Good opportunity there lost. The window is there, and just maybe a little bit of shape to bring it back in there from Pancotti would have resulted in the score. As it is, Grut will get another break chance. The variable wind here in Grenoble is certainly something that both sides have had to contend with in this game and over this weekend. Müller making herself big, using that wingspan to get the tip. Scazzieri looking down the line. What a play, and what a player. Ava Müller making it 6-3, and that's exactly the reason why she's been brought over to Bologna. We know what damage she can do at the backfield. She was, in my eyes, the best thrower at the Under-24 Ultimate Championships in Nottingham last summer for the German women, and that is the best thrower regardless of division. But you can't sleep on her, say, well, she's a thrower, so we're just happy to force her downfield, because she can absolutely punish you as she does there. That strike coming from the handler space, the en passant cut, slashing up line, and full extension with the layout snag. Ava Müller makes it 6-3. Grut fielding the pull. Janssen from the sideline. Big pump fake to try and get those defenders to space out and bite. But they're already clamped in and has to reset towards her own end zone. That one, the short pass, slips through the hands of Raider. Pancotti. Mascelani. Has a centering option available. It's Angelica Sati. Sati, that one is going to float. Defender. In the end, it sailed and drifted back towards her. De Gruyne having a very good game so far. Here's Kulartz. Kulartz trying to put some inside-out shape on that one, and clearly not on the same page as De Gruyne there, because it sailed over her, and Müller will pick up right from her own end zone line. Never really had a shot, that one. Shout already at midfield. Nice inside throw threaded through. Boyocki, and they continue the break side movement. Fake to space it out from Georgia Pancotti. To Gaia Pancotti. Müller. Snags with two hands. Sits that one out on the wing towards the back cone. Just too much for Matilda Mascelani. I thought that was going to be good. Seeing there, doesn't care about the wind. A fearless throw to Müller, and it just couldn't quite work out for her. Janssen putting a bit of air underneath it. Faith in Kulan downfield, and Kulan has a hand up in acknowledgement. Thinks, maybe I didn't get the best read on that, but I like the idea. Müller picks up. Underneath, it's a little bit fluttery. There's a foul called on the potential run-through block. Sydney Raider in discussion there with Nicole Baiocchi. It's always really tricky to get a feel exactly for what's being said without having it fully mic'd up. Trust the players to talk it out if they can't come to a resolution. But it looks like it's going to be an... it's going to see an accepted foul, I think. Either way, it's going to stay a contested foul, I see. It must be. I saw Arvin Müller make the hand signal. So disc stays with Bologna. Müller now just beyond halfway. Trying to space apart the force, just get it to drop off a little bit. And it was in and out of the hands of Giorgia Pancotti. I thought she had it, and then a second later, somehow it was on the floor. Janssen popping it off to Grut. Bouncing back towards that far side. Raider now. Off to Grut there. Moving it quickly in that short space, but we're struggling to gain a little bit more downfield until they find De Groen there. That one is going to be tipped. There's a potential in a second effort. Full marks for effort there for Sydney Raider. Just wasn't quite to be. Gaia Pancotti is going to take the opportunity to use a timeout here. Understandable. The point has dragged on a little bit. Here's the pass that was tipped by Janssen, and Raider just couldn't quite get underneath it at such short notice and contort the body in such a way. Timeout here. BFD Shout leading Grut 6-3. Women's division final action from the spring invite in Grenoble. Always be fascinated to know precisely what's being said during those timeout huddles. Shout in the better position at the moment. 6-3 advantage. Couple of early breaks on the board. Another break chance here. But at the moment, just only need to trade out from here. They're in the commanding position. Grut, I think an opportunity to get a little bit of a breather, just get the coaching advice and think, how do we adjust, keep ourselves engaged, involved in this game? The first thing, of course, is to make sure that you get the disc back off this timeout. It's always a little bit trickier to get things started off the stoppage. Pancotti caught it quite quickly, so there should be a decent amount of this stall left. Pancotti checks in, trying to avoid the turnout. Also, where you take the time out to stop things, and then almost somewhat inevitably sometimes the turnover happens as you can't really get your offense set into motion. It's so difficult from that stagnant standstill. Müller, in very congested coverage, says, I've had enough of this. Goes for the longer option, looking for Gaia Pancotti, and that's why you always back it up, because Nicole Baiocchi takes advantage of both Pancotti and Flora Hay getting caught underneath it, makes the catch, and the continuation into the end zone for Giorgia Pancotti has another break. You could call it fortunate, but if you don't gamble, you'll never get a chance to bring it in on the second effort, and that's exactly what Baiocchi did. If it went over Pancotti, if it went over Hay, she was going to make damn sure that she was going to be there to mop it up afterwards. And good as well that it wasn't just Baiocchi and Gaia Pancotti down there as well, but Giorgia Pancotti also following that one up to make sure that she could just catch that final pass, make it as easy as possible. And Shout, not that their title credentials needed establishing, especially after, champions the past 2 years looking for the three-peat. We all know what they're about, but this is a very good start to a a season that's certainly in a little bit of a state of flux, I think. With so much unknown about how things will play out under the new system. A reminder, of course, that the first rankings reveal is tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Central European time. So I think we can probably expect to see Shout right at the top of that as things go, as that pass from Kulert to Lanson is offline and off target. Arabalia picks up quickly and goes to Casarini. So often the reliable rock at the core of what Shout do offensively. This time underneath. Finds Ugolini. Ugolini breaks the mark into the end zone. That is halftime. A brilliant first half from Shout, clearly calling the timeout. Did them the world of good. It gave them the chance to get that mental reset, broke up Grut's flow a little bit. And Margherita Giovannini has her second goal of the game, her fifth of the weekend. And Shout have raced to an 8-3 halftime lead, looking more than on course for another title to take home with them, this time at the Spring Invite in Grenoble. Reminder, of course, that there are 5 Spring Invite events going on this weekend. So as well as open and women's action here in Grenoble, there's open and mixed in Padova, mixed in Malmo, open in Brno, and women's action from London as well. So much ultimate to wrap your eyes around. Just last games of the day here in Grenoble. So finishing off the placement games at the bottom. In the bronze medal match, Jetset have a 3-2 lead on catch-up. You can catch that as well here on Solid Sport. Rahel Toshnerova on the commentary for that one. And there's plenty of ultimate to come here this season. Of course, this is just the first weekend of it. It's not just the official EUF results as well that get taken into account. So tournaments coming up over the next couple of weekends. Vienna Spring Break and Tom's Tourney before the big early season tournament Elite Invite in 3 weeks' time, with 8 of the best teams from each division, open, mixed and women's. They will take the field in Leuven in Belgium to put an early claim to be the best on the continent. And the winners of the Elite Invite, by the way, snag themselves a wild card bid and will already book their place at EUCF in October. Last year, the winners of the Spring Invites did get that instant impact into EUCF, but not this time. It's just to kind of establish rankings and placements, get those games in early. Every team at each of the invites scheduled to be written in such a way so that you all play 6 games. So you've already got half of your required 10 that you need to be in with a shot of earning a bid to EUCF. Getting over half of those in already. It's just one less thing to worry about. And the idea is that you're not going to penalise teams who, maybe because of an odd number schedule, just don't get the same number of games in as other teams. As that deep shot over the top, it was brilliantly thrown right there on the end zone line. She was a little bit isolated, went to her knees and just didn't have the stability behind her, perhaps. Didn't watch it all the way in, but Shout give it back to Grut and Minard now on a short field in the red zone beyond the attacking brick mark. Low to try and stop the wind, picking that one up. Janssen finds Kulartz, who gives it back with the offhand. Kulartz trying to sit a little bit of air underneath it. And Flora Hay has 3 of Grut's 4 goals in this final. Good for them to get back on the board to start this second half. Still some work to do. 8-4 they currently trail. It's worth pointing out that, even if, you are down in a game and, obviously the great thing about Ultimate is that you have to score that final point to win. So it's never over until it's over. But even in a game that doesn't necessarily seem that close, there is always that incentive to try and play your best towards the very end. Because, it's good for the mentality. You never want to throw in the towel necessarily or let yourselves get downhearted. It's important to push as hard as you can for as long as you can. It teaches you a lot about finding your way back into games, adjustments you can make, and as well as that, the way the algorithm works, it takes into account not just the results, the wins and losses, but kind of the score lines as well. So it's important to make sure that you are coming as close as you can in every possible defeat and winning your games by as much as you can just to improve your coefficient. Müller picks up the pull and then goes towards the near side where Bonfante continues. Now Letizia Gatti. Back to Bonfante. Finds the inside window to Scazzieri. Scazzieri puts a little bit of air underneath it, but tracked down well by Baiocchi. Trying to clear out the centre of the end zone. Oh, it's tips. There could be a second effort. No. Slurb got enough on it to just get a big palm, swat it away from the defender. The spacing was a little bit off there. Slobe turns around nice and early to get an eye on the disc, and a big slap to smack it away. Grut looking for their first break of the game. Dam just trying to create a little bit of space up front because it can be so stifling in there as the Italian defense closes in. Selena Scholten. Still working very close in the shadow of their own end zone. Leshnik could be the perfect player to try and break through with those quick give-goes. Getting the disc quickly out of her hands on the move. This time, swings all the way towards the far side. Now they've got some space. The bid doesn't get there. Beyond that front line, can they go off to the races? Advancing rapidly towards the red zone, just bouncing it through those three players. A few yards away now with Suzanne Slob. Slob shoots. Oh, the defender got a piece of it, but not enough, because when Lola Dam is there, you always have a chance. Ava Müller looks around frustrated, and Lola Dam finally has Grut's first break of the game. They were going to make a contest of this in the second half if Lola Dam has anything to say about it. 8-5 now the score. They worked so well until the end zone, just bouncing it through the free player, and then they just got trapped a little bit. Had to put that one into tight coverage from Müller. Tried her level best, but Lola Dam at times is undeniable. Grut now, we'll see if they can get a break train rolling, having disrupted the rhythm of the Italians. Bengi underneath, wanted the quick dish back, didn't get it. Said Marcassini. Wearing that trademark vivid visor as always. Her throw downfield for Pancotti just levitates over the top and gives Grut the disc back again. High release downfield. Minard finds Killarts. Killarts pulls the trigger. Leshnik, she's no stranger to the spectacular. Tried her level best. Wasn't to be. You can see there is steps, and in the wind, it's just tricky to get the weight of pass right when you shoot deep. Just zip that one a little bit too much. But if there's even the slightest sniff of it, you can bet your bottom dollar that Lesznik would bid. Grut, however, giving up the deep shot themselves as Shout working towards the red zone, but that'll give it back. Got to be so quick to flip the switch on the transition here, because with this wind, discs are going to be offline. You're going to have to try and catch it as well to make sure that you don't give receivers second effort chances. As that one over the top, all it has to do is come down in bounds, I think, but it would just trail away at the end. Agonizing there for Kulan. Seemed like she was in a great position, and then the wind just teased her, dangled it in front of her, and it falls to the floor. Because Müller was nowhere. But I think intentionally sitting a bit underneath there, just trying to bait the deep throw. Shot in towards this sideline here. Foul called, I think, by Mashelani. Slob the defender. Have another look at it there, make your mind up. Of course, what I think is not important. It's all about the players on the field coming to a resolution they're happy with. Looks like it's going to be a contested foul. So we'll go back to the thrower. There's going to be a discussion about the stall count as well here. Kulan will check in on the mark. Müller still retaining it. Pancotti catches the first pass. Then looking downfield. Nice grab, reaching high with the left hand from Irina Scazzieri. Her and her sister Sophia rocks for so long, but Sophia now started a family, which is always exciting. And Irina playing some ultimate around the world. Played with Fury for San Francisco last season in the USAU club side, so kind of understands how the algorithm side of rankings and qualifications all works very well. Marquezini just slips and loses her footing a little bit there, but they're able to get the release off into the backfield for Müller, and that just pops up a little bit to give it back, and through Lesznik's hands. Shouts disc once more. It's been a tough weekend in these conditions, and I think maybe both sides beginning to fatigue a little bit as that one rises, and Kilarts brings that down really well. And now Kilarts, well, there is a receiver deep. I don't think the throw's got enough juice. Müller picks it off looking for Kulan, but she is quite isolated back there, and it does, at the very least, give you a bit more field position. And when Müller can't get it all the way back the other way, a bit of the territorial game maybe being played there by the Dutch. I think it was Kilarts herself who came flying through up against Elena Bengi. That's a matchup with a lot of fire and star power behind it. Didn't get the clearest view of it. You can see that the I think it's the chaps from the Grut Open side are in attendance trying to cheer on their club mates. Grut coming away with a 6th place in the end from this weekend. Getting some big games in early doors, always important. Just to test themselves, first time really as an outfit in the Open division. See how they match up, get 6 games in nice and early. Müller wants to find an option downfield, does get in and then dished off. Oh, Leshnik got a foot on that one, but it's still alive. And Bengi accelerates towards and snatches it with a right hand. Leshnik might be a little bit aggrieved that they weren't able to get the turnover off it, but that's what Shout rewarded themselves with by just staying alert and staying alive. Tipped again. Marcassini is not going to be able to adjust to get that one. Have a look at it again. Definitely tipped with the toes there by Leshnik. But Bengi makes the catch regardless. And there was another Shout player in the area as well. Actually, it was the thrower of all people. Capucci nearly collected the second effort. Timeout here on the field. This point has been a bit of a drag. Both sides now just towards the end of the weekend, perhaps tiring a little bit, and opportunity for them to take a little bit of a breather. Shout currently leading 8-5 here in the women's division final at the spring invite from Grenoble. This would be a break for Grut if they can convert here. In the bronze medal match, which is on our other streaming field here at the spring invite in Grenoble this weekend. It's currently 5 apiece between Jet Set Love and Catch Up. Let's have a look at the beautiful scenery here in the southeast of France. Grenoble, the hometown of the Monkey Ultimate Club, who are another side who have played a lot of mix, but going the single gender route this season, with Monkey in the open division and Queen Kong in the women's division. We mentioned, of course, that there's 5 spring invites this weekend as well. Open division action over in Brno, in Moravia, in the Czech Republic. We've got open and mixed from Padova in northeastern Italy. Mixed division action from Sweden in Malmö, while women's from London as well. Those last games in London just about to get underway. And if things stand as it will here, Shout be a contender for the top-ranked team at the end of it all. Iceni, the only undefeated team in London at the moment, so maybe those two long-time European powerhouses, Shout and Iceni, will battle it out for the top position come that rankings reveal tomorrow evening at 8, as the swing too far out in front of Leshnik. Red zone chance here. That's really sticky hands from Shout. Capucci finds it through to Pancotti. Bengi's been poached, and Bengi has to make the adjustment, but lays out to make sure she can get 2 hands on it. Bit of a meat grinder of a point. But Shout, they're happy to play it ugly if they need to, just as long as they can get their rewards in the end. And they managed to tough it out there. You can see the effect that the wind's having, just the tiniest bit of edge shown to it, lacking a little bit of torque and revolution, and the wind will play havoc with it. But Bengi sticks the clap catch, and it's 9-5. See, it just kind of comes across her, and her hands, I think, actually, they almost cross over a little bit, so she ends up with her right hand on the other side of the disc. But I think because she was ready for it to come quite flat, disc didn't quite end up that way, and so she was, rather than flip her hands over, so they were kind of on the right side, she's telling them almost, so her right hand is on her left side and her left hand's on her right side, which not ideally how you do it, but the important thing was that she made the adjustment, got the timing right, the hands set over each other, and made the catch. Collarts going short as Grut again face this Shout zone that will just try and grind them down, tire and wear them out, trying to make you make so many passes that asking you to constantly execute over and over again. This one looking longer, floats, and well reeled in there. De Gruyne having a very good game for Grut. Can't collect that one, but seems that there was a bit of contact from the defender coming through there, Francesca Ugolini. I think Ugolini is saying that I didn't touch you. I got all disc. We'll stay, however, with Grut. Minard to Janssen in the backfield. Going to continue to slash towards the far side. No, bounces it back instead. Kulartz gets it just shy of the end zone. Resetting to Janssen. Kulartz and Minard in the same space. And Kulartz, as she so often does, just gets the defender committing to one side and then a jab step back to the other. Janssen fits it through that seam. And nicely points now. 9-6. Shout leading Grut. Kulartz, as she has so often been, just formidable around the red zone. Just the one assist this week, which is quite unusual for her, but that'll be her 15th goal, and that is much more familiar for Kulartz. When they get into the red zone, when they've got time to set it up, either from a turnover or just transitioning naturally from their offense, so often it's just isolating Kulartz at the front of the end zone, asking teams to find a way to stop it, and more often than not, they cannot. So deadly in that short space. That pull right to the back of the end zone. I mean, could not be more in that back corner. That is an absolutely picture-perfect pull from Grut. And Müller there with the drop in the end zone. Great break chance. Grut, you feel, have to capitalise. They're going to have Scholten pick up. Damn, at the front of the end zone. Couldn't capitalise. Müller taking that toughest of matchups. And the throw maybe forced a little bit there. Shout trying to bang their way beyond Grut's defense. And they were two receivers there. Pancotti and Bengi. Usually both pretty good options, but Müller asked too much of them. Damn. Grut's second break chance on this point. Scholten. Offline. Bengi intercepts deep so they can get the offense going quickly. Scazzieri cutting downfield. Dunn clears through as well as the disc goes back to Gaia Pancotti. Leshnikov got another tip on that with the foot. Her second foot block of the day. This one does stick as well. No follow-up available there. Kulan looking towards the far side. Damn and Leshnik both flying through the air. And neither of them come up with it. Fine margins here in Grenoble. Inches away from a spectacular score for either Dam or Leshnik. And I wonder if Dam maybe actually got a little touch on that ended up taking it away somewhat from her teammate. Would have been a just brilliant bookends, having got the foot block, Leshnik. Now the defender flashes in Kulan. Gets a piece of Irina Scazzieri on the way through. So accepted foul just outside the end zone. Thought she was going to take the reset. Does. Casarini. Has Pancotti been able to keep that alive? She has for the score. And Grut, well, they got the turnover right on the end zone line after, an inch perfect pull better placement you could not see, but they couldn't punch it in. And Shout, as they so often seem to, find a way out. There's so much toughness and resilience, and they will never give it up as gone. And Gaia Pancotti has become such a key piece for both Shout and for the Italian national sides. Continues to demonstrate her durability, her toughness, her determination. Because the disc is low, zipped, and you can see that the defender there, if you're not careful, you could easily take a knee or a boot to the face there from Scholten, who actually in the end did well to avoid contact, but put her body on the line for that one, did Pancotti. Throw from the pool lands a bit short of the end zone. Janssen picks up. De Gruyne goes to the floor, but makes the catch. Janssen finds a little seam down the sideline. Gullart's back to Janssen, just giving themselves a little bit more lateral room to work with as they swing to Minard. The fake around finds the space through to Dam. Back in Minard's hands now. Of course, Minard been a standout, a rock in their handling core for Grut's mixed team for so long. Showed out playing for the Dutch women's side last year at EUC, and also played with the Dutch Open side at World Under-24s as well. So no matter what the division, Minard is always a really fun player to watch. Here's Janne Janssen. Putting one up there. The defender didn't get a piece on it, but did tempt Flora Hay into going for it maybe a little bit too quickly and got the turn. Doesn't matter as a defender whether you get it necessarily, just as long as the offense doesn't. Grut could open up a 5-point lead with just over 10 minutes left in this game, and that might be too much for even Grut to come back from. Playing it quickly on the turn through Rabalia. Towards the end zone, in stride for the score is Giulia Baroni, 11-6 now. Always in a good position when you're further in front of your opponent. Then you need points to win. 4 more would seal it here, and they've got a 5-point advantage at the moment, although with about 10 minutes left, probably not going to get all the way to that score cap of 15. And just sitting this one out, not fighting against the wind, but using it to their advantage. A tiny little bit of air underneath that one from Rabalia. Gives Baroni time to get into position. And Baroni takes advantage. I think especially as the game goes on, it's been a long weekend for these sides. 6th and final game. Energy saps, and if you can just keep the disc moving, keep those defenders always on the heels and wait the passes properly, it feels like as a defender sometimes you've got not a huge amount you can do. Another timeout here on the field. Shout breaking their huddle. Must be feeling pretty good with the clock ticking over to less than 10 minutes left. 70-minute games. All games to 15. If you haven't reached that 15 score by the time the hooter goes to signal the end of the game at 70 minutes, you finish playing that point, add 1 to the highest score, and that becomes your new score cap, which means that in games with absolutely horrible conditions that you're not going to be playing out there for hours, it allows you to keep to proper tight schedules as well. But it does mean that you have to score that last point to win, which is so important because it sets up those grandstand finishes where teams that seem dead and buried manage to find their way by hook or crook back into it. And as soon as a team starts to feel the pressure, maybe they buckle a little bit, and it sets up those wonderful sudden death games. Grut will be trying to see if they can pull off that trick here in this women's final at Grenoble. Shout won the first meeting between these two sides this weekend, 13-10. They do say it's tough to beat the same team twice in a tournament if you're relatively even, but Shout, on the contrary, seem to be doing even better this time than they did in their last outing, but that's exactly what Grut needed. Clean offense, just plinkoing it down the field, and then the layout there from De Gruyne makes it 11-7, 4 behind, with 4 needed for victory for Shout, but wonderful clean offense there. There's that previous point from Rabalia. Finding Giulia Baroni. Grut. Nice clean hold. Haven't seen that from either side for a while, in all honesty. The game has lacked fluency a little bit at points, I think, given the difficult conditions out there, and given that both sides play really tough defense, whether they match up one-on-one or whether they play zones just to get you out of rhythm and force you to adjust. It's all about disruption. Müller, not really seeing anything downfield, so resets into the backfield. Bonfante to Bengi. Bengi absolutely rips it, and Scazzieri looks around, somewhat confused, befuddled maybe. A sort of questioning look of, how was I supposed to get that? Evidently the two of them not singing from the same hymn sheet on that one. Bengi demonstrating there that she really can open up the field with her throws there, and I think maybe just a call for a little bit more communication from Scazzieri because she wasn't quite expecting it to go up in that way at that point. Leshnik on the near side sits one over all the way to the soft side of the field, and that's going to give them a lot of space to work with. Dam wants the little dish forward, finds it to Slob. Now swinging back across Leshnik. Has Kulin in front of her. Takes it a couple of steps away from the break, and they punch it in as well. All of a sudden, they're finding some rhythm. One opportunity given to them by Shout on that point, and that one opportunity from the errant deep shot was all they needed. A little bit of creativity at points. Lofting it over to the far side of the field, just stretching the Italians laterally and doing, I think, a sensible thing of when they had that opportunity, they, rather than try and get it all in one go, they just played it short. Comfortable, easy passes in this wind. A good idea. Give yourself as easy a job as you can as possible and trust that, you keep moving the disc, you keep forcing the defenders to adjust. You will get your rewards. And it's 11-8 now. Grut finding a way back into this game. Lola Dam, the scorer. Muller's going to bring it in at the brick mark. Grut maybe taking a little bit of an option out of the BFD locker. Something seems to be working for them, so they're going to try it themselves. But when you've got a thrower like Muller, and when the wind dies down a little bit as well, it's less of a reliable option as Marcassini just leaks out the backside there of the zone. The defender in that deep space isn't sure whether to come a little bit closer and cover the deeper player or whether to drop back, but Marcassini sneaks into the end zone, which you think would be a little bit hard given the fluorescent pink visor. But you give Ava Muller an inch as well as a throw, and she will take a mile. And Marcassini punches in the clean hold, 12-8 Shout lead.
Wow, c'est tellement...
Erika Marcassini with the score. Not long left in this game as Rabalia pulls. You could see on that low angle that BFD had not been able to keep themselves onside on that occasion, but Grut didn't call it, don't seem to mind. Janssen going short to De Grun. See how they're just trying to suffocate the front there. It worked for them last time, so Janssen puts the air underneath it towards the far side of the field. Kolarz is there. Minard trying to get it through in front of Janssen. In coverage as well, she brings it down. That's a big play for Janssen. And now they're in the red zone in the centre of the field as well. Kolarz. Short to Janssen. Looking for players. There's someone wide open. And there's a stoppage. Just trying to see why. Didn't see a hand signal. Pick potentially. Player unable to catch up due to all the traffic. Everyone's going to reset themselves into position. Whatever it is, I can see the signal that it's accepted. Bit of a shrug of the shoulders there from chess gears. It's checked in. And Janssen just with the little break side backhand there to floor Kolarz. It's just meat and drink for them. 12-9. Grut look like they've figured something out offensively. The question is, do they have enough left in the tank? Have they left it too late? Can Shout stave off their advances and hold on for the victory? (12-9) here in the women's final from the spring invite in Grenoble. Just a matter of seconds left before the time cap comes on. Another deep pull caught by Muller. 3 up front and zoning downfield. Just trying to see who they've got patrolling that deeper space. It's Kulan. And they're able to find the soft spot in front of her, but behind that second line of defenders. Bengi. Player coming towards the open side. All she has to do is execute the throw. And that is exactly what she does. Island Sinead done with the score. I think that should be the cap on. Just not quite sure whether it happened before or after the point was scored. It's very close. That one just out in front. I think Marcassini looked at it and then saw that Dunn was in a better position and decided, you know what? This This one isn't for me. Done with those bright orange boots. Burns past for the goal. So the ball's going to come from the goal scorer, Dunn. Backhand comes down with a lot of hand time. Another good pull. Janssen wasn't quite ready for it. Grut have to quickly adjust to come closer towards it because they're set up too far away. Janssen towards the far side. Minard has time to bring this one down. Well judged throw there by Janssen to get themselves out of a little bit of trouble, Grut. Minard into the backfield. I think that skipped off the turf. It did. Mascherani going short to Baroni. And now on the far side, Cristofolini. The layout score secures the goal. It's Margherita Giovannini. To make it 14-9. All set up from the great pull from Dunn. We're in a little bit of trouble from the very off. They're able to get the first throw to Minard, but didn't give her support quickly enough and trying to get the throw through the cup towards her reset. Left it a little bit short. And with the red zone opportunity, the sliding stag there from Giovannini secures the score. And this will bring Shout within one of victory, because I could see a very good boy there on the sideline. 14-9 the current score. So with the cap going on, you'd add one to the highest score. That would be your new score cap, which would be 15, which is the hard score cap anyway. So it's as you were, essentially. Janssen to pick up. Grut have to score 6 on the bounce now to secure the victory. And it feels like this might be a little bit too much, but every point will count with the algorithm, with the ranking. Got to get the coefficient as high as possible. And for Grut, even if they can't bring it all the way back, they can learn an awful lot from this first weekend as a women's side. Having played mixed for so long, they'll get a lot of good teaching points from these 2 days in Grenoble. Lola Dam just shy of the end zone, short to De Grun, and that I think is certainly a big point that they can take away from this. Loes De Grun has been brilliant in this contest. A real nose for the end zone, a proper finisher in the making. That's number 20. Another goal for her there. Had 2 assists and 6 goals coming into this game. And that's her 4th or 5th in this final alone. Grut have done the first part of the bargain. They've put in their offense. They just need to get 5 breaks on the spin. And against a side the quality of Shout, you rarely, if ever, see that happen. But if you don't give it a go, you'll never know. Because you've got to leave it all out there on the field. You can start to make your way back afterwards, knowing that you've left everything possibly you could out there. It's never nice to go home from a tournament feeling that actually maybe we had a bit more that we could give. Zleshnik's pull. Just going to curl back a little bit towards the halfway mark. Miller picks up. Will she try and finish with the splash play? No. Just going to dish to Bonfante and gets it back. Bonfante into the centre. Collart's thought about flashing in there for the poach block, peeling off her own matchup, but knew she wouldn't get there in time and had to bail. Gaia Pancotti. Back into the hands of Bonfante. Bonfante looking a little bit starved of options. There's an inside window there. Can she find it? Just past the bidding figure of Leshnik. Ava Müller with the catch. And with a 15-10 victory, BFD Shout are the women's division champions here at the Spring Invite in Grenoble. Here's that final score again. Just the inside window opened up. Leshnik couldn't quite close that gap fast enough. And good use of the pivot there. Just stepping a little bit towards the mark almost. Not just staying parallel to the end zone, but coming almost perpendicular just to open up that window to get the inside flick through for the victory. It's going to end our coverage here this weekend from Grenoble with this women's final. 15-10 Shout over Grut. But there is also, as we mentioned, action from our other spring invites. We have games from Malmo, that's mixed division action, women's division action from London, which of course will finish a little bit later because they are behind us. They're in their last game of the day there as well. Open in Brno, and there is also from Padova mixed and open division action as well. But that's going to do it from us here at the Spring Invite in Grenoble. The final score here in the women's division final, BFD Shout 15, Grut 10. Benji Reese signing off here on Solid Sport, and we will see you on the other side.
Ah si, mais